Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Make Mine Mayday. I'm Zach Joyner, your friendly neighborhood webmaster of Spidey-Dude.com, executive producer of the Spidey Dude Radio Network. And once again, I am here live. We are so excited by our first show of the new year, our first show of 2022 here on Make Mine Mayday. Before we get started, we want to give a special thanks to our patrons, Vinkman, Scott, Jurgen, and Greg. Thank you guys for your contributions and your support. You can learn more at patreon.com/SpideyDudeNetwork. Got some great stuff coming up later on this year. And of course, I am that webmaster of that website, but I am always joined by Kelly.
Hi.
So welcome back, Kelly. It's a new year, 2022.
It is a new year.
Hopefully it is not 2022.
Are you sure?
Let's hope. After Bob Saget, and Betty White, it was. We thought the 2021 won.
Sidney Poitier.
And Sidney Poitier, yeah, can't forget that. No. So what are we gonna do? All right, so welcome back to everybody. We got some comments. Before we also let everybody know, before we get started too, we'll have some visual aids. Those that are listening to our audio version, we'll have some visual aids and references on there. So hopefully you guys will be listening. And I am still working on the audio additions. Didn't get nearly as much done over the break as I wanted to, but life happens. So hello to SoFlo.
Hi.
And Vinkman and W Defender.
Hello. Hi.
And Ryan Reed. So welcome
hello.
to the show, guys. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and let us know on hit the notification bell if you haven't already, and let us know how we're doing as well. So we got a little bit of housekeeping you want to talk about?
Yeah. So I did write down, just to kind of hit it off, about a new schedule, because I know last year when we set the intentions for this show in 2021, both of us, but I was very adamant on once a week, thinking we were going to really just chug through it and be able to do everything because I was so excited. And as we all know, that did not happen. So I feel like we should go ahead and make that official, that we're aiming for twice a month versus weekly. Again, also, it's to slow it down a little bit, because even though we weren't quite as consistent as I wanted us to be, we were fairly consistent, and we did a lot of shows, and we are now, right after we finish this episode and the issues that we go over, we have Last Man Standing, and then it's basically chugging towards the end.
Volume 1, yeah.
Yeah, with the 2 books, and then because you know me, I have everything kind of planned out in my calendar already for all of the issues, and so
yeah,
we're pretty much halfway there. So we're slowing it down a little bit, slowing down what we instead of 5 or 6 books as a normal, we're gonna kind of stick to 4, unless there's just no way around it. If we're doing a mini, next episode is Last Man Standing. Obviously we're just gonna do that as one whole, because it makes more sense.
yeah, especially, and I'm going to talk about the story of that more next episode, but that's a fun little jaunt. I've got to also confirm a couple of things. I'm going to confer with the guys at the message board, and I'm also going to try to use the Wayback Machine to because I just remember the reaction on that was so hugely hyped and positive, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, but a large part of my big rant on this was just, saying too, we needed to really, because I know there were times where I was so stressed out about missing the show, even though it, wasn't in my control, and ultimately it wasn't in your control either. But getting so stressed out, I just don't want us to do that. So, like I said, I have sent Zach a plan. It's not necessarily finalized yet, but I thought about what his schedule might be, knowing my schedule and what I want to do this year. So I know that March and April we might only do one show. I know September and December we'll probably only do one show. Maybe November, maybe October. Because I'm hoping I can go to Japan around that
Yeah.
time.
Japan.
So yeah, so like again, lots of things, but we are going to slow it down a little bit, but hopefully that helps us
Yeah.
with our
Yeah.
work-life balance, because again, ultimately at the end of the day, we are doing the show because we love Spider-Girl, we love you guys, but it's a hobby. So we're trying our best not to kill ourselves.
Yeah, and it's and it's thing too. You've got things going on. I've got family. It is trying to do a weekly show is hard. And it was so much easier when we didn't have to worry about commutes and we were all locked down. And
because like I got here I got here exactly an hour, which is like a miracle because I didn't think that was going to happen.
Right.
I got home an hour before we recorded, so that's what I'm hoping. I'm just giving you guys the rundown of what we're hoping to do. So don't get mad at us if you're not seeing 4 episodes a month.
Yeah. 2 episodes are gonna at least 2 episodes. Hopefully, we get at least 2 episodes, and this is gonna be the same thing with SDE. I mean, we kind of went to that format too because we were even though the books have been coming out weekly for the last year or so, it's been the same thing. It's just to me that the twice a month format on that show has worked out, and I think it'll work out good here too. Because I mean, we're almost done with Volume 1, which is crazy for me to think that we are. Almost done with Volume 1 here in a few episodes.
I mean, we are so far past. We're because we learned today during research that Marvel Unlimited. If that's the scan, like if those are like the dead scans that Marvel has, and that's what they're going to continue to use and reprint. We have a problem. So
yeah.
So, that's why it's like, I've like lost my track of thought. It made sense, and now I'm done.
But overall, once we get the dates finalized, they're going to be up on the Spidey Dude Events page, and then I'll be able to create the episodes in advance on YouTube at least. It'll allow me to do that, but Facebook won't do it unless it's exactly 7 days out.
Yeah.
So the best way is to subscribe, hit the bell icon, and make sure you get the notifications. Follow us on both platforms, but at least with YouTube, I can get those scheduled out, and then of course follow us on our social medias if we have updates. At Make My Mayday on Twitter, at Spidey Radio on Twitter as well.
Actually, too. I was gifted a domain name. So right now it's connected to Linktree, which I've always embedded these recordings on there. But you can go to MakeMyMayday.com and people, if you type that in, you can see the show right as we're recording. Because it's fed directly from YouTube, so you can either click on it, it'll take you to YouTube, or you can just watch it on the website.
Yeah, and all the audio editions, they finally have fixed a couple of the bugs. There was a couple of StreamYard bugs that were going on. Mm-hmm. So some of the most recent episodes I've uploaded have the YouTube stuff on the website. But and if I can get everything going right now that the embedding element on WordPress is finally working correctly, we can finally get. We can have it streaming on the website as well, so via YouTube as well. So there'll be multiple outlets you'll be able to see, like MakeMyMayday.com. So we're super excited. I mean, like I say, this is such a labor of love for both of us, and I know we put a lot of passion behind it, and we're just thankful for everybody that watches us each and every stream. So
believe me, I appreciate everybody that's reached out and wanted to talk, because this is one of my favorite things to talk about. Why we have the show. So I know that it's turned into more of like us recapping everything, but I actually really enjoy that, because like we'll get into, these things need to be recorded.
Oh man!
So they're not lost forever. Because I have a feeling that's going to happen if I cannot get a hold of Marvel. So we'll talk about that. But and
let me tell you, once Kelly sets her mind with some tenacity in terms of trying to get a hold of something or get answers, I just get out of her way and be like, listen, I will support. What do you want me to do? Like, because we'll talk about this with the with our
I
next.
try, man. I do try. I mean, I'm still yet to get justice for J2, but maybe I can do that while I fix this, because this is kind of a little bit more important.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, this one's bizarre.
Speaking of tenacity, I might have finally met my match if we're going to go into news.
Yeah, so we have our this has been a news topic that's been happening on and off for several episodes, but oh my gosh.
All right, so after finding out that basically finding out that apparently there were Funko Pops, not just in Australia, but everywhere, and it's
But America.
an international version that none of us knew about because Pop in a Box said that they were the U.S. exclusive. I started looking and asking and bugging, and I think the last update I had, I don't know if we ever announced it on the social medias, but I had gotten told, like, basically on Christmas Eve by a customer relations team leader. Her name was Sue. Feel free to use it when you're talking to them, because you need it. But Sue said that they were
every time you talk to somebody, there's a different name.
There's always a different name. But this is also back when, like, I pulled all the board members of the group that owns Pop in a Box and was emailing them daily with recaps saying, hey, this is what happened, this is what happened, this is what happened. Do y'all really want to keep doing this? Because technically, false advertising is an FTC violation, and you can lose your business license. Let's talk, y'all. Anyway, so literally on Christmas Eve, Sue said that they should be shipping out on January 5th. However, dates can change. She did say that, and I understand that. I deal with that at work, like we all do, in terms of supply and demand and everything. So I wasn't too concerned. Well, obviously that date came and went, and somebody on Twitter was talking about how they were asking for updates, and one of the customer service people just canceled their order, and then straight up told them after they canceled it, "Oh, it's sold out. We can't replace the order." And they started doing it to a lot. They actually started doing it to quite a few people, I've found out. So I'm really mad now. I'm really mad. And this is me asking. I asked every day since November 22nd. Whenever Frogo posted his lovely 6 pops that he got from his comic book shop in Australia, he got them first. Which has never happened in the history of ever for him. And here's the thing: I'm totally cool. He deserves to be first. That's fine. The issue is that can't find them anywhere. I guess I'll go ahead to show you. Now, of course, my nephew said that this is a gift he totally found on the internet, and I totally just didn't buy, and he just opened the box after we saw No Way Home, and then made me wrap it.
Of course he did.
Well, he said it was from Gabe and Santa. So, yeah. So I found this on eBay because local comic book shops here in the United States have now been able to get access to the international version. And the only thing that I have figured out going all the way around Pop in a Box is they're waiting on this little sticker for their exclusives. And they're actually delayed on almost everything.
We're waiting.
I just want us to get our pops so we never have to deal with these people again.
And it's not like that. And the thing is especially at my old comic shop, the one that I used to be before we moved.
Yeah.
They used to deal with Funkos a lot. They got Funkos every week, and they dealt with Funko all the time. And they had a few Pop in the Box exclusives that they had acquired, and I even called them and I was like, have you heard anything about this? And because I'm telling the story, and she goes, that is the weirdest thing I've heard.
Everybody thinks that it's weird, but here's the thing. Too many people have different stories. If it's not a big thing, which unfortunately, Spider-Girl, as much as it is a part of Marvel, it's not Marvel Studios, so there's not Disney sitting there breathing down their necks.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, unfortunately, it's just not.
It's not a
It's
priority.
not being watched, and I think the thing is
Yeah.
too, this stuff was bungled completely, even on the international side, because it actually came out earlier than it was supposed to.
Oh no.
So, like, from everything that I've heard and I've seen and I've been able to kind of research and figure out, this has just been an entire cluster of insanity. And I feel sorry for everybody, but I'm also just like, pop in the box, what are you doing? Because you know, in the real world, most of my job skills, not that I necessarily use them where I'm currently am, but my job skills are in customer service and literally creating policies and procedures with the customer mindset for call centers and like customer service agents.
Yeah.
Not a single thing has been done the way that I have ever learned it or trained it, and I am just sitting there flabbergasted because, like, I was a consultant for, like, those surveys that you get and how you do the scores.
Right.
To try and basically beat certain companies that have very, very high stuff. Like, I was literally trained on thinking like that.
Right.
And I'm like, I can't, like, almost every single time I can't. Just before we even start, we even recorded, the last message I got was, obviously, I ordered these, I think it was July 30th, September 21st. I ordered it the moment it opened. You guys know how much I was pushing for everybody to pre-order it, so I do feel responsible, and I'm very sorry. I did not. I did not foresee this, man.
Like, and I'll go into a little bit with me. Between what you were saying,
I'm just gonna
I sent it to my friends. Oh, that's gorgeous. I love it.
The paint here is a little bit weird, but it might just be mine. You can see where it bled a little bit.
Yeah, that's
which is why I want another one. I mean,
exactly.
But, like, no, I mean, ultimately, it
looks great.
I think it was just, I really ultimately think that there was a mixture of it being too ambitious and over demand, and nobody knowing how to manage anything is what I really think.
Well, and when Spider-Girl fans are mobilized, they mobilize. Mm-hmm. That's what they do. They mobilize out. And
to think about Funko, think about Spider-Verse, think about newer, like, they might not be Spider-Girl fans, but they're fans of Spider-Man, and they want
every Spider-Man ever. Yeah,
exactly.
And it's so frustrating because we kind of talked about this a little bit last night on our live stream here on the channel with the Marvel Legends. When you have exclusives, it's a crapshoot. I mean, I was talking about, like, Walgreens exclusives. They're so hard to find in the wild. You have to go in the aftermarket, and it's sounding like in this case with this Funko, it shouldn't have been this way because these were pre-ordered. And then you sit there and the add insult to injury for the holidays, you sit there and say, oh, pre-order again, but those that waited to pre-order, you get free shipping. That is so disingenuous.
Yeah. We talked about that last episode.
That's asinine.
Well, it proves that they don't care.
Right.
And that's the thing that I think they need a serious overhaul. So, again, I am so sorry to anybody that, is kind of in the waiting game. I think, still have mine. I don't think they've canceled it. They'll probably listen to this and then cancel my order.
Which I'm be irritated because, like, we already paid for it.
No,
I mean, that's the
thing. Well, see, and do you know, one of them actually told me at one time, one of them straight up was like, oh, this is a pre-authorization. You didn't actually get charged. I'm like, I'm sorry. I used my debit card, so I did get charged. That might happen to some credit cards.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It doesn't happen with a debit. You have
I don't use
money.
credit cards. Yeah.
And and then there was the whole or like, if it's PayPal, it doesn't matter if it's pre-auth, PayPal took the money.
Exactly.
That's the case. And so they clearly don't know what they're talking about. Like I was going to say is that when I ordered it, I ordered it immediately. The last message I got just asking for an update saying, hey, I talked to Sue. She said January 5th. Obviously, that's come and gone. Can I just get a update, please? She said she'd send me an update. She hasn't. I'm asking. Somebody straight up said, oh, I see that you ordered this on July 30th, 2022. You'll receive it on July 30th, 2022. And I was like, you clearly just read when I ordered it and messed up the year.
Because it's going to take me. Okay, this is not Galactus that takes a year to produce. Okay, this is not this is not a HasLab.
It does. No,
Apparently,
it is a HasLab. Clearly, this is exclusive of the exclusives. Mine better come with glitter.
Oh my god!
But yeah, no.
They ought to send everybody both the.
Yeah, they need to send everybody
April. Yeah, like that's the least you could do. Pop in a box.
I can't. So again, I'm frustrated. I know everybody else is frustrated. I am trying my best to get some actual information since they don't want to admit their wrongdoings.
If you hear Waylon in the background, he is just so beside himself about how bad this is.
No, I mean, I feel that. So yeah, I'm just saying, I'm trying, guys. I'm so sorry. This seems like this is going to be a time. So we'll see. But
there is some. We can pivot to the better news, though.
Well, it's not better news, but
right.
Yeah, so as per usual, whenever something is officially confirmed, when it comes to these complete collections, Amazon and your big retailers generally wind up being delayed by 1 week. And that is the case here. Amazon did send an update saying, hey, your due date has changed. So now it's going to be, I didn't write the date on there, but it's the second week of April. So it's going to be the second Tuesday, where I think originally it was 4/4/22, and now it's like 4.
Yeah, it was 4/5/22. It would be the 12th. I just looked it up.
12th. There we go. So, so it is officially on slate with Amazon to be shipped on that date. So I know that local comic book shops should be getting it the week before. You might find international versions earlier than that, as we've seen too. So, yeah, at least that seems to be going just fine. That is going to be on track. No real delays.
Yeah, I've been told that at least the trade paperbacks side of things has been fine. Apparently, Diamond has had a very rough couple of weeks. And they're having issues with getting individual books out, but on the Marvel side, but it seems like the bookstore retailers are doing just fine.
Yeah, well, Diamond, I don't think Diamond's ever done the complete collections. Those have always been somebody else.
Yeah.
Also, we could go into a whole thing about. I actually kind of feel bad about Diamond, but
yeah,
I could also go into like work stuff and talk about printing and. Supply like actual real supply chain issues pop in the box. That are
it's not fake news, okay?
But yeah. So anyway.
Oh God.
I at least like we know that that's on track, which means no more crazy delays like last year on it. So yay.
Yay! So now every April, because it comes before May. Hopefully,
April
knock on wood.
Yeah.
Get that if you have not pre-ordered. Pre-order now, because the demand has always been high. So they do get some, but it's always good to especially on these trades, pre-order and you're better off.
Plus I think like Amazon always sells out, or they always wind up with like 6 or 7 left originally, then sell out, and then we'll get another shipment in a few months later. If you really want it, go ahead and pre-order it.
Yeah, and there'll be discounts and stuff like that. You know, if the price is a sticker shock, I mean, to buy those same books right now is not necessarily cheap. And to be frank, they get discounts, especially as they get closer. And if they have a discount that they are applying to it, then they'll knock that off on your pre-order too. So they're really good about that. So
I mean,
yeah. Do we want to get into the issue itself, the issues themselves?
I do think so. So I started writing in Spider-Girl history to talk about the fandom or any kind of backstory tidbit that Zach has in his head about this time.
Yeah.
I know you said you don't have a whole lot, but I don't know if you remember anything.
So this particular period, I remember, they had started talking about the big push was that first Scholastic trade. And we were, fingers crossed we get the second one. And I think by this point, if I'm remembering correctly, the second one was already solicited. So we had, we were celebrating the victory, and then there was, some teases from Tom. He couldn't talk about it. And then eventually the solicitation hit with Last Hero Standing, and that really set everybody ablaze, so to speak. So there was a lot of buzz, a lot of excitement from the fandom. At that point, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, I think Molly Laser had became the editor at the time. So she was
mistaken. These were all edited by Molly.
Yes, and so she was coming on. She was being part of the message board community. Things were flying high, and we felt like, I think everybody, John and Jeff and Matt, all really were feeling, those were the message board guys that I'm talking about. They were, feeling very satisfied with the amount of work that they had done. We had hoped that we would get more MC2 stuff, but this was kind of the first time we had seen in a while, a couple years at this point. It had been a while since we had anything outside of just Spider-Girl. So to get Last Hero Standing was really good, and I'll have more information on that next episode. I'll do a full deep dive on that.
Yes.
But yeah, just around this time, it was the buzz was there. I know at this point, I can officially say this. This is the last time that Pat's drawing an issue. I know I've said that like 3 episodes. The whole issue, yes. The whole issue. He does come back between now and 100, but for a little bit. But this is his final full issue of Spider-Girl in this episode. And I will tell you, I love
I can't believe you forgot it last episode.
I just, in my head, it's because of the cover. Because
so iconic.
Ron drew the cover, and then I was like, oh, there was parts that I had forgotten until I was doing my recap, and I was like, oh, wait, yeah, okay, now I'm like it had been a while since I read these issues, because they've been, carefully, maintained in the box, and but
Look,
yeah.
We had to pull the floppies out today because I knew something was wrong. So I understand. I'm a Marvel Unlimited on my phone kind of girl all the time. But they did us dirty.
Yeah, and this is also, so if you're listening to us on the audio version, you're not seeing what I got in my hand. I got the floppy in my hand, and it's got the word balloons and the trade dress. But if you go on Marvel Unlimited, it does not have any of this. It just has the non-trade dress covers, and which is what they always used to put out, and they still do this. They put this out with the solicitations, and then it's in there. And so this is like some of the very first scans into Marvel Unlimited. And they mess it up. That's what we'll get to in a minute.
You know what?
But
I don't mind it just being the artwork because it's gorgeous.
Right.
And I will say that when they did finally fix it, because I think that there were a few links at one point before the app refresh that had actually somewhere along the way, one of them was like an Unlimited X-Men cover. For some
Ultimate. It was Ultimate.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Sorry.
It was Ultimate X-Men, yeah.
Yeah. And it was because it was like Logan, and like of course Logan's not even in that issue anyway. But like, why?
You know what I think that was? If I'm remembering, that may have been. They had done it as a backup, and I think that because
I just ultimately think it was a glitch. I think that they were loading those issues at the same time, and something got switched. Because again, and we'll talk about this when we get to issue 88, but you know, these were scanned in and done a long time ago.
A decade ago.
I have a feeling someone fell asleep, something happened.
Kelly's got a full-blown, you know, I'm just gonna be like, I'm gonna let her go, let her ride. So
I just like, it wouldn't be a big deal if it just isn't like, there's at least one very important page that is gone.
Yeah.
And if you're reading it solely on here, you don't have it. And now I'm afraid it's not going to be in the complete collection because it never got scanned, and now it's a lost page.
Yeah, that's insanity. So, all right, here we are. We're going to do Spider-Girl, number 85. I'm going to be doing the breakdown for 85 and 86, and then Kelly will be doing 87 and 88. So, it is written by Tom DeFalco. Pat Olive is the artist. Sal Buscema does the finishes. Scott Koblish does the finishes on the backup page because he was the one that did the final artwork on Last Hero Standing. So we'll talk about that here in just a minute. The title of the issue is called Rescue Me. Our issue begins with May and Normie visiting Phil in the hospital, where Phil is in his usual enthusiastic mood, discussing how he beat Fury last issue. Normie wishes he had seen the battle, but May is not feeling so chipper about the situation. When asked about the Venom symbiote, the cover story of it being shoved in the oven is mentioned. May then asks how Phil has explained his injuries. He says it was a car accident, and May asks if Phil's spouse knew of his extracurricular activities. But he informs Mayday that she knows, and I'm assuming she's just grudgingly supporting him.
Yeah,
May?
No. Mary, I think Mary wholeheartedly supports it.
Yeah, I think so too. I think she gets off.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, why?
No. Mary is wholeheartedly supporting it.
She's an adrenaline. Our headcanon's establishing that she's an adrenaline junkie, and she likes it.
No. She's not an adrenaline junkie. She's just a very supportive spouse.
Yeah.
Like they are both. Phil and Mary are both ride or die for each other in this universe. Period.
There we go. So May is feeling extra Parker guilt over the fact that they are lying about the Venom symbiote, and Normie reassures her that they're doing the right thing and that they'll discuss it later. But in the meantime, he's got to go get lunch with Brenda. We cut to a guard getting kicked in the face, and an inmate. He's escaping. Who might this man be? Why, this nondescript bald man isn't me. No, he is the face of Funny Face. Sorry, I had a little fun doing this recap, so I'm just gonna be a little melodramatic.
Like that was fine. It was just that wasn't English.
Yeah.
Like it was okay. You can have fun. Also, I was making the face because you were comparing yourself to Funny Face.
Yeah.
I didn't know if we needed to have like a self-esteem moment for you.
Not quite. I don't have as much childhood trauma as as Funny Face has. No, it's the face of Funny Face. We have never seen Funny Face outside of his makeup. So, back at Midtown, Courtney and Davida rush to meet with Mayday, asking her if she's all right and how lucky she was that Chris Jerker was there to save her. Mayday is very obviously confused and asks them who told them this. And we see that Chris is giving his macho cover story, and Mayday wonders if she should in fact bust him. So Chris is basically telling everybody, I'm the reason that I defeated the Venom symbiote. So, cut back to our scene of the crime. Peter's with Catherine Ruiz, who laments about the fact that Phil is in the hospital. Peter then decides to check on May, who is slightly perplexed over this, but she overhears some classmates discuss the fact that Funny Face has in fact escaped. We catch Normie's lunch with Brenda, in which Normie has a plan to guarantee their financial independence and allow them to get married sooner. Oh boy.
I'm trying my best to bite my tongue and not just go into my feelings about certain things, but because this is one of those issues, I'm just like, I gotta.
Yeah. No, I get you.
I'm trying to hold back.
Mayday is changing into her costume, but because she suspects that something is afoot, she calls Phil about a location, and we then cut to Ravencroft, which has now been converted in the MC2 to a supermax prison, as it was formerly an institute for the criminally insane. Angel Face is sitting there without moving, and Ruiz gets a status report on if she knows her son has escaped. She calls Peter, and as he's on the phone with her, his spider sense begins to go off. A kaboom happens, and we see a full, glorious splash page of Funny Face in all of his glory. He quickly takes a hostage, a.k.a. Peter, and is looking for him. Who is him, you might ask? Well, somebody's figured it out. Was figured out by Mayday. That's right. We figured out who he is, the dastardly, the deadly, the crazy Bunky! Yeah, he's looking for Bunky. Turns out Mayday's hunch was right, and we have Face with his literal finger gun to Peter's temple. He's got the sparkle blasts. So Mayday threatens to turn Bunky into pulp while uniformed officers try to sneak up on him. Face also makes it aware and acknowledges that they're trying to sneak up on him. May is firm in her statement that she will pulp Bunky, so Face, being insane, offers an exchange. Instead of dragging it out, May throws poor Bunky across the room, and Peter elbows his way out of it. As he does this, Mayday jumps in and gives him to the officers, and Peter's having none of this, but don't tell him that. Like, he is not happy. He's like, I could have taken the guy. So Face is concerned with Bunky's well-being, as you would if you were criminally insane, and Mayday tries to reason with him. Bunky is his best friend, no matter if he's alive or not. May tries to put Face into a sleeper hold, but Face zaps her. Turns out May had webbed Bunky to the floor. This causes Face to lash out, saying that he is claustrophobic and that she was torturing him. Really, this is his childhood trauma manifested in the puppet. Face threatens to blow the building up, but May knows better, as her spider sense would be warning her of such danger. The fight continues, and Peter, who isn't used to being on the sidelines, is starting to enjoy this. Face's costume can absorb the body blows, but his jaw? Nah, it's pretty glass. 1 hour and 27 minutes later, Peter is overjoyed at her performance as they meet and discuss it on the roof. Mayday is feeling that Parker guilt about the Venom symbiote, and at one point thinks about telling him what's going on, but she brushes it off because he's so proud. Meanwhile, Normie is talking with Foggy Nelson, and it seems that Normie is ready to take his rightful place in the family business, running the Osborn Corporation. The end, for now. Though we have an interlude, it is New Jersey. Wolverine is bonding with his daughter in the Pine Barrens, and he senses a vaguely familiar and yet menacing scent. He yells for Rena, but all she finds is a giant hole. Who will be the last hero standing? And that is the breakdown. Kelly, your thoughts as I bump the microphone. Sorry.
I mean, ultimately, to me, this is one of the, like, if you were to give Spider-Girl recommendations to kind of like give someone the feel of why the series is so great, this is one of those issues. It's a great story, kind of more of a one-shot story. You don't really need a whole lot of background, even though I think, like us rereading all of this and taking our time and really dissecting it, we've kind of really realized a lot of the nuance that honestly builds this up and makes this even better. But we really get into the backstory of Bunky here, told in his own way, too. Because we don't get, like, flashbacks. We don't get it.
No. We're
being told, and I said Bunky, but Funny Face, because of Bunky. And, I love that part. Like, I really love kind of being able to see what makes a supervillain tick, kind of. Like, I like seeing how that person is supposed to look and feel and act, and this really gives you that sense of that character, while also showing you that, once May realized what was going on, she stopped kind of play. Even though she was playing hardball, she really realized that like things had to be a little delicate.
Yeah.
And she's really the best hero out of all of MC2 to be dealing with that.
Right.
Especially with Funny Face, somebody that she does have this history with. So I really like it. Obviously, seeing Peter get really super excited because it's really funny because like he is honestly in awe of her when she does things right. It's just the fact that like when he gets too nervous or scared, it's almost tunnel vision. Which I mean, he's a dad. Like that's the thing is like he's always going to worry about May. May's always going to be his little girl. There's nothing.
Yeah, my perspective is
it's annoying. As a teen, it's annoying. I mean, honestly, I'm 31 and my dad does this now. It can be annoying, but it comes from a good place.
Right.
And ultimately, like, you realize that, like, that it means a lot. Like, not everybody has somebody like that, especially a parent like Funny Face didn't. So getting to see that, him just be in awe of her is so much fun because, like, we'll come back later where they're fighting side by side and he's just pissed.
Yeah.
And all of the awe went out the window. So, even though he does know she's capable, it's just...
And we see this throughout the run, too. The issue 17 in particular, I remember, us talking about it too. But like this one, he's in a civilian guise, and one of the reasons that they checked on Angel Face too, and I forgot to mention this in the recap. They think that that Funny Face is going to go break his mom out.
Yeah.
They go check and see of his mom, and then Mayday's the one that figures out, well, he may not be going after his mom. He may be going after.
Because who did he talk to in a very loving manner the whole time?
Exactly.
Funky.
And this is where when you read the books like the way we're doing it on the show, the world building, this is where, in a world where we have so many relaunches and the day we're recording this, they announced that they're relaunching Amazing Spider-Man again.
I have things. That's why I was like, let's not talk about that because I have so many things to say, and unfortunately, that doesn't make me excited.
Yeah, you'll hear my thoughts on SDE next week, but I get, but turning around and reading this, and you're like, oh man, it's so nice to be able to read a book that isn't constantly being relaunched and stuff like that, and it was allowed to be able to build its world, and for longtime readers. This pays off some little breadcrumbs that have been dropped over the years to where you can finally get this, instead of it being, a character dissection where you have Ashley Kafka, sitting there writing in her journal about this criminally insane person. He is telling you through his actions and his dialogue how emotionally damaged and broken he is. And,
well, too, he's also explaining why he does what he does, or why he feels like he needs to. Because literally, he said, like, "Who cares about right or wrong?" Like,
exactly.
That's his mindset. That's how he goes about his day. Because I kind of we never want to necessarily say people are damaged, because a lot of people that have had hard childhoods and have also managed to work through that, and we all have our baggage, we all have our things, and that's kind of the thing is like that's what we're showing, even though he's clearly a bad guy, he's clearly not, he does need some emotional support, mental health situation, and is a bad guy who has done bad things. Let's be fair, him and his mom literally ran over Courtney.
Yeah, lest we forget, he did run over a supporting character in the book.
But, it's more of, here's his mindset, and here's how May was able to use the mindset to de-escalate the situation.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
Even though, punches were thrown, et cetera, she really does use... she uses a little bit of psychology, but she also just uses being a person and talking to him as a person.
She equally defeated him with her mind as well as her fists.
Yeah.
And, Venkman does bring up a good point. Peter's reaction, how Mayday handled Funny Face, is exactly how she wished her father would be when she first became Spider-Girl, but now she feels guilty about not being transparent about Normie. And that's exactly true. And but the great thing about this issue too, on that, and I'll give you back the floor.
Yeah.
Is that this is a one and done issue, but it does build on the rest of the world, and this is how you do one and done issues. Mm-hmm. It doesn't feel like it's, in a world where everything has to be bombastic and the world's changing, like modern comics is. This is a issue that it's a softer issue, especially kind of a palate cleanser after the big Venom arc that you just had, and then we have another big arc that we're about to do here later on the episode. So, it's a nice allow to breathe type issue.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily high stakes, even though there are high stakes involved because there are lives involved. But yeah, no, I understand that. But speaking of Normie, because that's a large part of like my thing on this, where I want to keep pointing stuff out. So I always took the parallel where Phil was talking about Mary and how they don't keep secrets from each other, and then Normie just straight up tells May, "I'm not telling Brenda about this Venom. Like, some secrets need to be kept." And, of course, May's just accepting it, but even May knows that doesn't sound quite right. And I thought that juxtaposition, because, I've gone into discussions with some fans that are very, very pro-Normie Brenda for life, and whenever I'm asked certain things, I'm like, what ideas would I have if I was, like, continuing the series? And one of my first things is to break Brenda and Normie up. It's one of the first things I'd want to happen. Not like immediately, but they're not. There's a lot of things set up that just don't, especially the older I get, the more I'm like, this is a bad idea. Like, this is all a bad idea.
As somebody that got married the first time in a shotgun style, okay? Normie, this does not end well. Most of the time.
I mean, he does have money.
Yeah.
He only had hair.
Yeah.
You've made the joke. I'm just making it back.
Exactly. I even told some church-going ladies as I was Ubering tonight, I said, I'm new to the area, but, and my ex-wife got half my hair in the divorce, so, they found it funny.
Good. But yeah, so like the thing is that like I started seeing that as little breadcrumbs on like maybe something would happen there. Then of course, us seeing him take, telling Foggy, no, I want my birthright. I want to be this major stakeholder at Oscorp, whereas we don't even know if he finished high school, to be honest. We know he hasn't gone to college.
Right.
Or, so it's like, this is bad. Like, just from a business standpoint, this is bad. But then just seeing him and the way he's drawn and this kind of nefarious presence that he's pulling off in these little scenes that we're reading, this is bad news. And, it's just not, I don't like it, but it's like, it's very much giving you those like red alarm, like, red alarm, red flag feeling.
Yes, he's acting very shady throughout these 4 issues.
Yeah, but like this one here, at least it does come off more as like, is he just being a 20-year-old guy that doesn't understand crap, or is he evil? We don't know yet.
Yeah.
Is he just being a boy? Maybe.
As I mentioned earlier, just to read off the last of my notes.
Yeah.
I had forgotten about the whole Chris taking credit for saving May. Completely forgot about it.
Really?
Yes.
Because this is why I don't like him, and that's like, I think we've talked about this because we're saying like, oh yeah, he was based off of guys from the message board, and I know that like it's a big deal, and I see it, I understand it, and it's funny, it's awesome. However, wasn't cool, man. Like, it wasn't cool. Like, Chris is just not cool. Not to mention, too, we know how scaredy cat he was, and that whole situation where he was like, "Can I come over? I know it's late. Can I come over?" No. Like,
bro.
No.
As I wrote, "Oh, Chris, you fool."
Like, it's just yeah, no, see, this is why I was like, no, I was down and okay with him until this issue. When I first read it, I was like, nope, can't do it.
Yep.
He's not cool. Little bit of a Bogart. Is it Bogart? Brogart? What's the one where you're like really
verbose?
Yeah.
Braggadocious? I don't know.
I don't know.
Words, what are they?
I don't know English.
English. Last bit for me. It's an exceptionally fun issue. I love the cover. The battle, the absolutely bonkers. It's such a testament to that world building here. Face is out of control mentally, but he's hilarious. I mean, like he's humorous without trying to be. You almost feel sorry for him. The childlike tendencies that he has when it comes to Bunky. You know, the fact that the twist of the issue is, instead of going and getting his mother as reinforcements, he goes to get his doll. I mean, says all that you should know.
It's a comfort thing. I mean, that's ultimately, like, that was for him, that's his friend. That's his, you know, it's kind of like, you know, where some people have, like, I've seen it, grown adults keep, like, their binky, their first blanket, you know. It's kind of like that, but it became a person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like, I mean, Castaway with Wilson, you know, or Linus and his blanket. It's just a homicidal maniac twisted into that. So, but yeah, I mean, that's all I've got for the issue. You got any more things to say?
Like I said, and that's why, like, I didn't write a whole lot of notes in my review, because I knew that the moment we were talking about it, was like, things are going to pop in my head that I want to bring up, because there's a lot of little points that I love to talk about. But overall, I think, like, the story itself is just straightforward. It's just solid, and it's one of those, like, if I could give somebody a recommendation, I would give them this issue. Like, if I could only pick 5 comics from Spider-Girl to show, this would be one of them.
I agree. It's a great one and done, but it just overall serves the overall story very well. Yeah. So completely agree. So we're jumping on to 86. This time it is Tom DeFalco and Ron Friends, with Pat and Scott doing the backup as well. It's titled Family Business. The cover date was July 2005. Hit the newsstands on May 4th of 2005.
So before you do your breakdowns, I just want to say, because I think this is the first time where we've actually broken up a story and split it between us.
Yes.
I just want to explain why I split it up, which is mostly because we only had 4 until the next, the mini, Last Hero Standing, but also because these 3 issues while they are majorly connected, they do have different things for each issue that feel different. Yeah. So that's kind of why it did get split. Also, it's getting harder to split these up per. To
where they make sense narrative. Yeah. Makes sense. So, all right. Our issue opens with MAYDAY as Spider-Girl at the F5 headquarters after being invited over by Franklin. She was conned into a game of Capture the Flag. On one side, you have Franklin and May versus the rest of the crew of Rad, Grim, and Doom, but Doom's not really participating because Doom is Kristoff, with Taurus barking orders like he's Johnny or something. Franklin ends the game pretty quickly, grabbing Rad's flag after MAYDAY was able to grab Grim's flag. And she doesn't appreciate how MAYDAY laughed at how her maneuver was, because she literally slid underneath him and grabbed his flag to get his flag. She notes that she was laughing with, not at her brother. Rad is very protective of her brother, because her brother is the Thing's twin children, one that has powers, energy powers, and the other obviously looks more like his dad. So Taurus grabs Mayday and offers to show her what's going on with the F5 to impress her. Groan. Franklin then steps in and informs May of what of the ulterior motive that he had for calling her over. He wants to know what really happened with the Venom symbiote, because he knows her well enough to know that she's not going to sit there and kill a living being. What's going on? Mayday then hurriedly rushes off, and she feels guilty about keeping things from Franklin, and that he is telepathic. He could scan her mind and he would know what's going on. Of course, Franklin wouldn't do that. We've already established he respects Mayday too much. So she rushes off. Meanwhile, Normie is touring Osborne Plaza, meeting with Mr. Stevens, who is wondering if he's going for his job. But Normie assures him that no, he's not. He's going for something much higher. Normie says it was with Brenda. He's brought her with him. And, Brenda's kind of impressed on how he handled the situation. He talks about how he's found his inner strength. Back at school, May asks about Moose to Courtney, and they bump into Wild Man Chris, who is regaling Mandy about his adventure against the Venom symbiote until he sees May and nopes out. We cut to Mount Athena, where a beam of green energy has streaked across the cosmos. Apox lives, and he's going after the Fantastic Five, and he will have his vengeance. The Avengers call the F5, and Franklin answers that they are away in the negative zone. We also learn that that Apox has been imbued with the power cosmic, and that he's more powerful than ever.
This is again?
Yes, this is the second time. Yeah.
Just so everyone's clear.
Yeah. Yeah, he had the power cosmic before, lost it, and he's regained it, and so now he's feeling himself right now, so to speak. So the kids are thinking that they need to call the rest of the team, and Taurus, of course, being Taurus, he thinks that they can take him, being the hothead that he is. Franklin thinks that Spider-Girl may be in danger since she had such a huge impact, and tries to call. May sees the call at school and thinks that it's to follow up on Venom, and as she steps out into the stairwell, she sees Moose. He's visibly and emotionally upset, and May senses that she's got bigger priorities at the moment. Nova, seeing the situation from his little base orbiting around the Earth, tries to intercept Apox, but to no avail.
It's a spaceship. We can just call it a spaceship.
It's a spaceship. So he tries to intercept, but he's very quickly knocked out. May continues to get calls from Franklin, but she doesn't answer. She decides that she needs to console Moose instead. Moose is having a really hard time with his dad, and it looks like it's getting pretty bad, and that she realizes that he really does need somebody to talk to. So the Avengers then try to intercept, and they are very quickly and somewhat hilariously dispatched. And I say that with all the respect in the world, and I love Anex, but like Apox destroys Mainframe. He takes J2 and smashes him into a giant hole in the ground, and then Thunderstrike tries to take him, and he gets knocked out off panel.
I thought we established that unfortunately these Avengers live in a comedy.
they really do.
A dysfunctional family comedy.
Yes. And like even Thunderstrike is like talking about J2. He's like, man, I really hope you didn't throw him down the sewer, because he's gonna smell. Like, I'm gonna be so upset. And so, of course, we then, May finishes her conversation with Moose, and then she decides, okay, I'm gonna return Franklin's call. We then cut to the Hulk fighting Apox after he has taken out Namor off panel. Hulk is really pissed because he was at a barbecue cookout and his burger's going to go cold, and he's very, very upset that he got called away from his family. Apox comments that, oh, this is the legendary Hulk. Like, I would be honored, but I am on a time crunch, so I'm just going to zap you into space. Franklin then tries to send the kids away after Stinger calls back. Kristoff, tries to reason with her to stand down because he's trying to act more like a boyfriend and less than than being reasonable and being a strategic person.
They weren't together for a while.
Exactly.
They're trying, okay?
Yeah, and so Mayday then shows up just in time to realize that Apox has arrived. Her spider sense goes off, and a big giant splash page, Apox busting in through the door to the number 2, be continued. Kelly, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway, honestly, because this is a very just action-packed issue, and I normally don't have a whole lot to say about the action because it speaks for itself.
Mm-hmm.
But I think my biggest takeaway is that, we finally see May ignore her cell phone for a minute and actually be there for her friend in the moment, which has been a really big situation in the past, and for her to finally kind of step up and make those tiny steps towards that really shows a lot of growth in her. Because for a while she really went hardcore into only Spider-Girl. Almost pretty much letting it take over her life and letting her friends down, ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
To kind of see her finally be there and not really super focused on the phone, which is something I feel like all of us should remember.
Yeah.
But yeah,
how poignant for today.
Very poignant for today. But just her kind of figuring out her balance is really neat, and it's this really subtle way of showing, that she is growing and she is learning from her mistakes, and she is trying to get her life back ultimately, and have that really good work-life balance that we were talking about in the beginning of this episode for ourselves. So yeah, with us dissecting every issue so far and seeing these little tiny turning points here and there, this feels really satisfying. And it's just a growth moment. I just enjoy it. And then, of course, like we said, anytime the Avengers are, on the page, it's a ball.
Yeah, it's very bombastic.
Because they're the kind, ultimately, the way I kind of describe it is, especially during this time, if you read a regular 616 Avengers comic, it was very much like, how we picture 1940s Justice League. They are on this pedestal high up. They are the Earth's mightiest heroes. And you look at them versus these are the kids that you'd probably go hang, I don't want to say go get a beer with because they're not of age.
Right.
And I wasn't when I originally read this.
Go get a milkshake with.
No, I'm not.
Well, you're yeah.
But
metaphorically,
I'd go get you go get coffee, or these are the people you'd go hang out Friday night, get a pizza, and go see a movie. Or at this time, I think I was very big on hanging out in the movie parking lot, and we would steal the Kroger carts and race them through the parking lot. So that would be those guys. You'd want to hang out with them.
Exactly.
And there's not a lot of pretentiousness involved. And so they're not afraid to look foolish or make a fool of themselves. They're just going to go hard and go all about it. And you have to respect that. As much as we make jokes, they are to me, they are probably slightly more respectable because they're not afraid of what they look like.
Yeah, the optics do not matter, and it's kind of refreshing to see that. I love the family dynamic in this one. I love seeing this side of the F5. We've talked about when we covered the F5 in the episode where we did Fantastic Five, Volume 1. This is the story that we've been kind of alluding to. This is definitely a Fantastic Five story, MC2, Spider-Girl intertwined epic. And the setup of this I thought was really well done. I love that you balance that emotional, heavy element with Moose with the big bombastic action and so it doesn't drag the issue down. It keeps everything on a high level.
Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't drag it down, but it also kind of provides it provides that kind of, not, it's not really a dichotomy, but like, just, I guess, the juxtaposition
Hmm.
of how quiet it is, you know, being there for your friend versus everything else in the world around you, and what why people are calling you and trying to get a hold of you,
Yep.
what they're dealing with. Like, it's, even though all of that, like, all of that for Spider Girl is so big and huge. This is a huge situation. It didn't matter in that moment. The
Yep.
person that mattered was Moose, and making sure Moose was okay.
Hmm.
And that's just as important.
Exactly. I completely agree. Completely agree. Are we ready to move to the next? I don't
I
have much on
think,
this.
yeah,
These three, I don't have much like in the first two parts. I think I have more to say at the end of the story since it's,
exactly, yeah.
kind of, yeah. So, 87.
Yes.
Kelly's going to do the
All
breakdown of
right.
this one.
Yes. All right. So, Spider Girl 87. The cover date is August 2005, and it went on sale June 2nd, 2005. Family Business, Part 2. Uh, Basically, we start off where the Skrulls kind of learn their lesson about putting the power core outside of the body, which proves to be a bit worrisome at first for the F5 kids and Spider Girl. But Spider Girl and Franklin try their best to get the kids to leave. Leave the fight, but they're not going to back down, and they want to help because they are their parents' children.
Yep.
And Apox doesn't want to fight children. And, even though he's been charged with destroying the Fantastic Five, if you're underage, no. Like, he has rules for
Even he
his,
has limits.
he has rules for his destruction. And so his goal is to find them right now, and no one is telling him because no one's going to make it that easy. So he's getting really frustrated. He shoots what you think, when you first read this, might be a blast. Like, he's frustrated and he's just blasting crap. And it can be seen from space. It's actually a beacon. So the other Skrulls, the Skrull Council, in their own spaceship that Nova can see, as he has rescued the Hulk from last issue. But anyway, this is a beacon for the Skrull Council to put a force field around the Baxter building. And that doesn't really look good. And it's also not exactly a force field, even if that's what Apox thinks it is. Meanwhile, Franklin and co. have to come up with a plan of attack, but Taurus, or they did come up with a plan of attack, but Taurus proves to be a bit too much of a wild card, and for it to work as intended, as he just very much a hothead and just pops off. And ultimately, he gets himself kidnapped. This shocks Franklin, who is really much speechless. I think that this is more kind of plays into the fact that Franklin really does want to protect these kids. Like, he feels responsible for them, and now his cousin just got kidnapped and is probably going to ultimately say where his parents are. So he is really, like, he's not responding to Kristoff. And Spider-Girl kind of sees this and starts trying to get everyone on the ball as to what is needed to continue with trying to catch Apox. And then, of course, her and Kristoff go at it because Kristoff doesn't really want to be taking orders from someone who is not in the F5 and, isn't like a part of the family, so to speak. But Franklin just says, just listen to her. Go on, and tells Alice and Jake to run to the negative zone portal and protect it just in case Taurus does break, and tell Apox where their parents are. Spider-Girl asks Franklin what she can do, and he advises she's coming with him after Taurus. And Spider-Girl follows, despite feeling very overwhelmed because she knows she's out of her league. Because this is the powers cosmic. Not something she deals with every day. So, In space, Nova and Hulk are working with with Earth Sentry, and he's advised that this beam force field thing that they're seeing is actually getting its power from the sun, and from the looks of it, the Fantastic Five might not be their only targets, because this isn't a force field. It's a solar bomb. So the Avengers are on their way to the Baxter building, so they are okay and at least somewhat able to fight. And they're trying to get through that force field, but it's proving to be a lot of work. Apox is terrorizing the whole building, including the museum, and took Taurus to said museum, where he tries to force Taurus to tell him where the F5 are using his powers on the child. So, he won't kill a child, but he will use his powers on them. So Franklin and May are following the crazy destruction trail Apox has given throughout the building, and May asks if there's a way to use the big brain robots that they pass. This leads Franklin to explaining that the rest of the Fantastic Five are in the negative zone visiting his mother, who isn't dead. It's just the public has assumed she was dead all these years, and basically when they were fighting in the negative zone against this alternative universe warlord who whenever I finish this, I do want to ask you who you think that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a theory, but anyway, it's something I guess we need cleared up. But anyway, They're fighting an alternative universe warlord, and it left his father horribly scarred and a tear in the fabric of reality in the negative zone. His mother was able to stabilize the I cannot speak today. I'm sorry, guys. And stabilize the tear and kind of keep it patched. But she can't really leave until it's fixed. So they put her in this induced coma so she can keep it from tearing apart, as her father is, as Reed, Franklin's father, is slowly fixing the tear as he can and taking care of his wife. As May reflects on how you never really truly know what's going on with someone, like how the world wants to be Franklin Richards or be with Franklin Richards, but people don't actually know what's going on or what he's having to deal with. And then, Kristoff is able to finally get a read on Apox and Taurus and knows that Taurus is okay, but Apox is on his way to the negative zone. And the force field that Apox put on the Baxter building, again, like I said earlier, is a solar bomb. They have a few hours before the bomb completely blows and takes not only the building, but the entire island of Manhattan with it. Yikes. I do want to ask before I move forward, Zach, are you reading along?
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not.
No, I'm asking because I swear I thought Kristoff says they only had an hour or two in this issue, and then the next issue it says 6.
I think it may be only like a few hours. I think
Yeah.
This is the one floppy I couldn't find earlier. So
yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
I will look. I'm just saying it was a little weird. But anyway, Meanwhile, we check in with Normie, who is looking a little nefarious, asking his now employees at the Osborne Corporation to make a new glider and pumpkin bombs. When these employees doubt that this is the best course of action, Normie reminds them that it's his name on the building, he's the main stakeholder on the board, and they'll do what he says or he'll fire them. Again, is he being evil or is he just being a dumb rich kid? Because we'll find out. We know. But
Yep.
Not good. Gives me the heebie-jeebies. Anyway, Brenda watches on, and he pushes Brenda out the door in a rather strange, foreboding shadow, and she looks a bit bewildered and also really pissed off at him. And I agree with that, Brenda, because, to me, I literally wrote, this is not good management etiquette. This is how you get HR complaints.
Yeah.
So anyway, as Apox gets to the negative zone portal, he's greeted by Jake and Alice, who give him a really warm-hearted clobbering. Alice's cosmic rays manage to hurt Apox, but this makes him angry, and he throws Alice, who thankfully gets caught by Franklin, and Franklin unleashes his powers like gloves are off onto Apox, But when Jake breaks his concentration, because Jake wants to defend his sister, well, Apoc starts making really quick work out of Franklin, Jake, and Alice. Spider-Girl comes in and just lets her spider sense guide her in trying to put a stop to Apoc and this insanity. While this does impress Apoc, and he calls her a true warrior born, it doesn't really deter him much as he throws Spider-Girl over his shoulder. I put like salt because he just kind of tosses her. And he opens the portal and depressurizes the room. Spider-Girl plants her feet firmly on the ground and grabs Franklin before he can be sucked into the portal, also using her webbing to catch Taurus before he's sucked in as well. May feels completely overwhelmed, but also very angry about this situation. And not just because Apoc got the best of them, but because of where Apoc is going. Because she really does feel very strongly, about what Franklin's going through. This is her friend. So she knows she's going to find a way to win and defeat Apoc and, make sure that this Apoc does not get what he wants. And she knows she will because she has to. And that is the end for now.
Yeah, this one has a bit of middle chapter syndrome for me. Yeah. I don't have a ton of things to say about it. I think it does a really good job of ratcheting up the stakes, but also bringing it down a little more personally, to where, it really kind of... It's an MC2 story, but it's really distilling itself down to it's an F5 Spider-Girl story.
Yeah.
Whereas the first chapter, it kind of gives you the overall world, and it feels like the world and the story is shrinking closer to where it's a little more focused, and it kind of builds itself down instead of building itself out.
Yeah. I think it does still build it out, but it's kind of giving you a little bit more of a rundown. This is going to be... Because there are certain things, and I think I talked about it in the very, very beginning, that there are going to be things where we'll talk about it, we'll dissect it, and move on, and then I'm going to completely forget about it, because for some reason my brain just doesn't want to remember it.
Right.
And that has a lot... That's kind of the way I feel about the first Fantastic Five mini.
Right.
I know that we were able to establish that, his parents weren't dead. But I can't fully remember if we got this story or not.
Yes, it was. This was in the last issue of F5. I think it was the secret of of what happened with the Fantastic Four. And I don't. Hang on, I can grab the mini. I'll look through it right quick because I've got the digest right over here in just a second.
Because, we learn, Reed's on the spaceship, he's not actually a brain in a robot. And this is really the first time that May's getting to see the story that the readers have and the readers know. Because I think she does eventually learn the story the last time they fought Apoc, a.k.a. the time that her dad ratted her age out to her crush. And Franklin's own crush was dashed.
You're right.
I'm sorry, Johnny knew the whole time and just let him believe
it. Yeah.
That's
so
cruel.
It was issue 4.
Okay.
That was the issue.
Do we go into the backstory there?
Yes. The whole thing with issue 4 is...
See, why can't I don't know why it's literally one we read it, we discussed it, but it's one brain cell
right
away.
It was Hyperstorm, and that's what because
I was because Hyperstorm is Franklin.
Yeah, that's right.
So
okay.
That's why I was like, wait, hold on, that's Franklin. And I was like, wait, I know this story. So I knew that was going to happen eventually. We are here now.
Mm-hmm.
It has been over a year since we reviewed that or touched that.
Yeah, to be fair.
So, to be fair, for us, I guess we should be listening to our backlog, but...
Yeah.
I'll just cringe at myself the whole time. And it was back when I had bad internet, so I sounded slurry.
Yeah.
Slurry.
Yeah.
No, there's times where it was because it would cut, and No, not great. Anyway,
No bueno.
no bueno.
At least the internet's stable now.
The internet
So,
is stable. It
but
said
yes.
it really, really fast before we started recording. So
Now, Vinkman, luckily, we always have Vinkman. He always follows
Yes.
along as we're doing our recaps. He says, in Spider-Girl 87, Doom says the solar bomb will go off in 2.3 hours. In Spider-Girl
I was
88,
right.
he says 1.6 hours.
I knew it.
So,
I mean, I did just reread it this morning, but like
yes.
it bugged me because I did have during these notes we kind of were all writing them together today while I was in a focus room, and I did have to stop and do other things and come back to this. So anyway,
Yes.
yeah, no. So the time is wibbly wobbly, timey wimey.
There we go.
Just so we know.
Just so we know. But like I say, I don't have a ton of things to say about this middle issue. What about you, Kelly?
I mean, like I said, I wrote on here like it's straightforward. It's mostly a Fantastic Five story with May, but we do get to kind of see why Franklin likes her being around. I think I think like the one thing I would really want to dive deep on is just that moment where he is speechless.
Yeah.
She sees this and immediately goes into action and immediately starts talking for her friend.
Yeah.
And this kind of shows you just how well that they read each other, which we've
MAYDAY.
talked about. Like they are always on the same wavelength, which is really cool. Like to kind of meet somebody and just immediately click like that and understand each other.
It reminds me of a little bit of the dynamic that Peter and Johnny have, but also like Peter and Matt
Yeah.
Daredevil have, where they can kind of bounce off of each other, and it's really interesting, especially when you go back and read that F5 story in context with this, because of the trauma that you see. That was very much a Franklin story. In like thumbing through it just now, you're like, okay, yeah, there is some trauma that is subtext if you're a longtime reader, but you're not lost. That's the great thing about this issue, is that you get this backstory, and it doesn't. You don't feel like you have to go back and read those books.
You can forget the mini. That's horrible. Don't do that, guys. That was a joke. It was really bad. Because I'm making fun of myself for constantly forgetting the mini, even though I have a whole I have all of them. Like I have the digest. I have all the reprints. Blah blah blah. So I just feel dumb. Is basically what it gets down to. But yeah, to me, it's just they make a really good team.
I agree.
They're really very simpatico, and I like it, and I wish we could get more of this, because the second volume is so sad. Fantastic Five. That one I can remember. So yeah.
There we go.
And then, of course, I wrote Normie's being a brat and boo to that.
Of course. When Normie's a brat, you always say boo to that.
Yeah.
That did not mean to rhyme, but okay.
Look, he deserves this right now, because I like it. Really is just, especially as you're rereading everything, it really, even though we know what's happening, if you're reading this for the first time or you're listening to us for the first time, and they don't know what's happening next, like it is nerve-wracking, because like we've had this big redemption arc. He's been our best friend. They had like crushes on each other, for Christ's sakes. But
it's been a roller coaster ride for Normie, and
you're like, oh, why is he doing this? And even, I'll be honest, even when you do find out, the payoff is more infuriating, and you just realize Normie is an idiot. I mean, he's smart, he's a great dude, but he is an idiot.
Yeah,
So anyway.
Yes. We go to Spider-Girl 88, the last issue of the episode that we're going to be breaking down. Kelly's going to be rounding this out. It's got the Lost in Space cover.
Yes, Lost in Space. All right, so cover date is September 2005. It was on the newsstands July 7th, 2005. Family Business, Part 3. Kristoff is trying to reach Spider-Girl, who left them when they were all passed out, and she took a skimmer into the negative zone on her own to chase down Apox. Kristoff tells her that the solar bomb has 6 hours before it goes off, which isn't a lot of time, but it is a lot more than 2.33.
Well, it's 1.6 hours. 1.6 hours.
1.6 hours. Yeah.
Yes.
So, wait, it says 1.6 hours, or it says
Yes.
6? I thought it said 6.
No, it's 1.6. But because they didn't like make the numbers in there, like
No,
yeah.
I'm gonna pull. We're gonna finish the breakdown.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna pull it up.
Oh, you think it's an error on? Oh, okay. All right.
Because you're reading the floppy, and
This is the digital version. Okay. All right. Moving on.
Anyway, we're gonna. I have so much to just yell at Marvel about now. Anyway, because I swear to you, it didn't say 1.6. I could be wrong. I could have misread it, but
Yeah.
I swear to you, I thought it said 6 hours. So it isn't a lot of time. So Franklin asks if Kristoff is actually getting to her, since the SKRULL ship has been trying to block communication from the building to the negative zone. Kristoff says he isn't sure because he hears either static or screaming. It's screaming. May's screaming. She's feeling a bit rocky driving for her first time ever with a motor vehicle, and it's basically in space, no less. May thinks on what she's doing and will need to do once she stops Apox, which is basically after she stops Apox from killing all the adult members of the Fantastic Five. She somehow needs to find her way back to her plane of reality and then stop the atomic bomb, or solar bomb, from blowing up Manhattan. Spider-Girl's work is never done. So May crashes the skimmer and makes an entrance to Apox's field of vision. He's shocked she'd be crazy enough to follow him and asks, as they chat, I wrote /fisticuffs, we learn that Apox wasn't aware that this force field is a solar bomb and that he's been used by the SKRULL Council. Franklin, making quick work to find them, is able to get some major blows on Apox using 2 big asteroids that then and then he chastises Spider-Girl for not working as a team. As they talk, Apox goes towards the tower, and then, if you're reading along with us on Marvel Unlimited, you're going to miss these 2 scenes. So I kind of wrote them in super depth because I am slightly afraid that this page, aka these 2, technically 2 pages, but I believe it's all 1 page, that got completely missed in a scan to digitize. So it might be gone forever. And that's really horrible. So anyway, as Apox goes towards the tower, I have this whole thing there. But anyway, so we kind of cut to Midtown High, where we see Sandra urgently running to find May and asking Courtney where May is. Courtney sees Sandra is distressed and asks her if there's something she can do to help since May isn't on campus. Suddenly, Howard is in their faces, screaming at Sandra about her spreading lies about him and why won't she see him anymore. It's kind of it's really scary scene as Howard is just going off on how this has to all be Parker's fault and this is Sandra's fault and everything, basically just how a man baby abuser would act when the toys are taken away from him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really, really scary. Courtney asks him to calm down, and Sandra says she just wants him to leave. But it's clear he's not doing either of those things. But we don't get to see what happens next, because we then cut back to space, where Spider-Girl and Franklin are on another skimmer, and it's not going as fast as it could be because it's not meant for 2 people. And when Franklin tells her that, May teases that Franklin's calling her fat, and it really flusters Franklin. Because that's not what he meant. But they get to the station, and as Spider-Girl is amazed by the station, Franklin's actually really concerned because it's very quiet. Apox is broken in, but the alarms aren't ringing. He's not hearing people fighting. So he's very concerned why it's quiet. But then Spider-Girl's spider sense goes off, and she helps Franklin get out of the line of fire. And this is where you are now coming back into Marvel Unlimited, or your digital issue. Because this is where Spider-Girl has taken Franklin away. As Ben throws Apox, basically Ben had thrown Apox, and we see this fantastic adult team. So we see Reed, Ben, Johnny, Elijah. Ben is super mad because Apox told them he hurt their kids. And Ben asks Franklin if everybody is fine and then goes back to clobbering. But his clobbering does wind up hitting a piece of equipment that was helping Sue's stasis chamber. But as Reed sees those findings and numbers, because he's worried that, it's messed things up, he finds that this might just be what is needed to help Sue. Elijah fights Apox, and they talk about how, she's a traitor to the SKRULLs. Ben and Reed help use Apox's power cosmic against himself, and Reed uses the powers to heal the rift and help Sue wake up from her induced coma she's been in for years. It's really very fast once you get there. Spider-Girl hates to ruin the moment, but she reminds the team of the fact that there's still the solar bomb about to go off in minutes at that point in their plane of reality. Kind of not a home you want the Richards to go back to after all of this, So in space, Nova, Hulk, and Earth Sentry are closing in on the SKRULL Council's ship, but it's heavily guarded and not the kind Hulk can easily beat his way into, even though he seems pretty sure of it. But
Hulk is the strongest one there is.
yeah. So as Reed's face actually starts healing because of the powers cosmic, he advises that a device that he has in his hand should be able to deactivate the solar bomb and send the energy back to space. One problem, though, as Ben destroyed all the skimmers, and now no one has a guidance system to get them back. But Spider-Girl does have her spider sense, and she volunteers to help to get the device back in time to save Manhattan. Ben literally hurls Spider-Girl through the asteroids of the negative zone.
Fastball special.
Yes, and she uses the debris. To keep her momentum up until she gets to the distortion area. Since May can't trust her eyes, she uses her spider sense to get her webs up on the portal and pull herself back into reality. Spider-Girl runs to Kristoff and hands him the device, and it works. It sends the solar energy from the bomb back to its source, the SKRULL ship, and Nova, Hulk, and Earth Sentry watch as the ship's systems get overloaded and go offline. The kids talk to the adults and Franklin, who is still there in the negative zone, and hear from Reed that Nova has arrested Apox and the SKRULLs. They also get to meet Sue in person, and she's awake, and it is really truly a happy ending. Meanwhile, two techs at the Osborn Corporation are complaining about how they're building a Green Goblin mask, since this is giving off very Norman Virgil vibes. Because I need to differentiate. So
yeah, right.
If anyone forgot, regular Granddaddy Norman Osborn's middle name is Virgil.
Yep.
Yep. So anyway, Normie hears them and is still looking all dark and gloomy and menacing. And again, like I said, he overhears them talking about him obviously being crazy, and maybe they should be going to the authorities because this raises some red flags. But Normie actually stays calm and thanks them for their work and lets them go with a generous severance package, and just tells them that they're going to need to sign strict NDAs. And you have to wonder what's going on here, and why does he look so creepy? And
Definitely.
This is how we end this issue, at least in Marvel Unlimited. So the end for now.
And it's how it ends in the floppy as well. The floppy ends on the same thing. So there's no
I'm gonna let you
backup.
talk your reviews while I go and pull this up, because if I find out that they removed the 1 and put 6 hours on there on the digital version, I got words, Marvel.
So, okay. For me, I remember this issue very distinctly because I had not read F5 before I read this. So, for me, getting to see that there was this origins, like of how the F5 became kind of the F5 here, really was awesome for me as a new reader, fairly new reader at this point, to the MC2. I really enjoy anytime the Fantastic Four and Daredevil are the two characters. When they cross over with Spider-Man in general, I always get excited, and I just love the dynamics that they bring to the table and the family dynamics. I love how May, you know, and company are able to defeat this Omega level threat, and May so totally feels out of her comfort zone. I also love the fact that, you know, she's like, most people, you know, my age are in driver's ed, and I don't have that, and that's a very New York thing, you know. And talking with people that are from New York, they don't necessarily get their driver's license because they don't need it because they have the subway system.
I mean, too, that's not even just New York. I mean,
yeah,
bigger cities don't always do that. Sometimes parents can't afford a car.
Right.
Sometimes, you know, there's just no interest in it. So,
which is, you know, for me, is growing up at the, you know, in a very small town, very rural, you know, independence, you have to get your driver's license almost if you want that independence. So it's a weird dichotomy for somebody like me that grew up in a very rural area of the country. So I just love this issue. I love the artwork. I really like the coloring subtleties of the Fantastic Five and the Fantastic Four's costumes. I always have liked the burn suits as much as I do the classic original suits. I love how you get a genuine happy ending, and this was coming out in an era where happy endings were very much not something that happened a lot. And so it was so nice to get a happy ending. And then of course you have, you know, the stuff with Normie where, you know,
of course you did. You know what, though? You know what? It works for him because, again, like I've been stating, these scenes get under your skin.
Yes.
And even though, like I said, I've reread them multiple times, I know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually, like I said, it makes this payoff just go, like, you just want to scream that you hate him. You don't really hate Normie. But, dude, like, this is not the right way to go about this. Stop being a secretive person. You're not Batman.
Yeah, he's not Batman. He's not.
I know he keeps thinking he wants to be Batman with, like, the Batcave spider site. But, like, come on, man.
So, like I say, I love, you know, I love the fact that we got this, but obviously there are some bigger fish to fry about the logistics of this issue. And as a result, I'm going to turn it now over to Kelly.
Yeah, so again, I really like this issue, but the thing is like, I'll be honest, this story overall, as great as it is, isn't something that really would stick out to me. I don't feel like what we're leading up to the end of the series, that this is, you know, as much as, like, this is a fun story. I love this story. Like, there's nothing wrong with the story. It's just, it's kind of like, in a sea of, like, where everything is, like, a 10 or above and it's all perfect, this just does, you know, it doesn't jump out at you. So that's kind of, I guess, my thing. Like, it's a really good story, but it's not something like the episode issue with Funny Face, where I would say, yeah, you have to read this. I don't think this is necessarily like a recommended reading. It's just a good story.
Yeah.
But the thing is one of the things that set up a very, very important issue that I do think is required reading, and something that, like, we're gonna have to, like, have, like, it is a very serious topic.
Yes.
It's set up as here.
We almost, like, I feel like that's one of those episodes where we could probably spend an entire episode on that one issue because of how in depth it is.
And honestly, I thought about doing that, and we could maybe. We'll see how we feel after Last Hero Standing, because it's 89.
Right.
But the thing is that, like, ultimately, like, Marvel Unlimited is doing you a complete disservice by leaving this page out. Like, sure, you know, I've made jokes because I really, like I said, I really enjoy May and Franklin together. I think that they're very funny together. I like seeing them together. I'm very sad that didn't get scanned in. I'm very glad that I realized something wasn't, like, I knew a page was missing. But the fact that, like, when you sent it to me and I saw what page it was, I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's a very, and the way that Ron drew it too, and Sal finished it, it's very menacing. I mean,
I mean,
Howard looks deranged. He's angry. There's genuine fear on the faces. It's such a very powerful page.
Exactly. And like we've talked about this. We've talked about Howard, and how he's an abuser.
Yeah.
And how things were going to get worse, and this is the start of that. And I
Yeah.
mean, on this page, you see the threat. You know that this threat is looming. You know that didn't just end, hunky dory. Mr. Slattery did not just get to them in time. You know that, but you're not seeing that. And so without that page, when you do get to that issue, like if you are only reading it through digital copies, or you are only reading it through Marvel Unlimited, or what I'm afraid of, it's not going to be published in the complete collection. And so eventually this page is going to be completely lost.
Yeah.
And it's like, on one hand, I can hear like this.
I can
hear the hipsters now going, how did they even let this editing in here? It's so clunky. Why would they just let that? That feels like a page is missing. Because a page is missing, stupid. But the thing is like, you're also missing this really good scene that is needed for 89.
And I'll say this: we'll get the page in on the show notes, just in case you are reading the digital version when we do the audio version of the show. If you're listening to the audio version, it will be in the show notes on the post on the front page of spidey-dude.com, so that way you can see it. That way you're not missing it, because we're not obviously putting it up on the screen here on the YouTube live stream, but I will make sure that page is.
Wouldn't it be hilarious if we did that and then we got copy striked by Marvel?
That would be hilarious. That would be hilarious.
I feel like that would be my luck on this, but like,
we've managed
it needs to get fixed,
yeah,
man.
Yeah. There's not been any like algorithmic, copyright things on Make My Mayday. There has been a couple on SDE, but
because this is why I said no music.
Right.
But music is fun, but other than the fact we couldn't figure out anything that really felt Mayday to me that was free to use, I was afraid it would get copy struck no matter what.
And the funny thing is like once I appealed it and I said, well, this is all copyright free and there's no copyright to it, and they're like, oh, okay. I'm like, now there was one there on the No Way Home. I did not deny it. I just went ahead and removed the audio of it, just because I knew, because it was a reference to Clone Saga Chronicles, but it's his magic outro that I used to use. But so I was like, okay, yeah, I did that on and I even made sure that was demonetized before I even did anything.
Yeah.
So like between those two things, it was fine. But yeah,
is anybody getting commercials when they rewatch?
I have premium, so I don't have commercials.
You have ad blockers, so.
Yeah. So I don't. If you're getting ads, great. I'm fine. Like, I don't care.
I hope Zach can get a nickel.
Yeah, because right now I got about 2 nickels to rub together, and that's about it.
No. But yeah, so yeah, no. I think that ultimately, like, it almost too, like, and I was super excited to talk about those missing pages. I'm gonna call them the lost page, and like, it is the lost page of Spider-Girl until Marvel fixes it. But it's just, it almost overshadows this entire breakdown and this entire story to me.
Yes.
Because I think it's just because I've had Marvel Unlimited since they started, because one of their major selling points was Spider-Girl, Spectacular Spider-Girl. So I signed up in 2010.
Yep.
I've never not canceled it. I pay a yearly subscription. I've done it for 12 years now. The issue at hand is the fact that, like, I guess because like I said, this story is not something that really speaks out to me to reread. I don't reread it as often. And I totally didn't even see that until we were doing breakdowns that the page was completely missing. All I knew when I saw it, because I was at work, was, like something's wrong here. So what do I do? Um,
Yeah. And I'm glad that, like, luckily I was at, I wasn't like in Nebraska or someplace like that, and we were both reading the same copy. This is the one good thing about us having, you know, you have all the floppies as well as the trades and everything like that, and so do I. Got a lot of that. But like when you're like at work and I happen to be at the house or something like that, and we're doing these things.
I mean, it was just one of those times where we wound up doing our notes at the same time. So you were able to kind of pull it, and that was the thing though, is like I'm very glad you did, because in that way me rushing around trying to do everything I was doing is,
because and that way I'm not like, also, I mean, if I'm sitting there following along, because I tend to do that as you're doing your recaps, I usually have the floppies in there, and not because I'm like not listening to you, but I'm just like following along and making sure that I that I didn't miss anything in my notes.
Yeah, which I did misread the 1.6, so that's on me.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, Vinkman said that he thought it said 1.6 hours, but yeah.
It does, yeah.
So, but yeah, no, like, yeah, I don't want to, we don't like interrupting each other like when we're in the flow of like a recap, and so, I'm glad that we, like I say, it's one of those things that will, like I say, that will be in the show notes for the episode, and I will make a note of that. As I download things tonight, because like I say, I'm trying to get all the audio done. It's just been, it's been crazy. Holidays were crazy. So
yeah, and 2022 is turning into 2022. So.
Part 2.
Part 2. Anyway,
technically part 3, but yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess like the only thing. Oh yeah, I think really was I think most of my little review parts on this last issue, other than that, where I was just like, oh my god, was, we're not really going to get to see what's going on with Normie very quickly, because we have Last Man Standing to go through, and then, Sandra is about to take center stage for a second.
In a very important issue.
In a very important issue, so we're not really gonna see what's up with Normie, and it kind of is frustrating me because Normie knows better.
I think it's not going to be.
I thought he was better than this, even though, like, I've been reading this since I was 14 at this point, because that's when this story was happening. So it's like I should know better. I know what's happening, but it's just it's infuriating. Like, how dare Normie? Like, I'm upset with him.
There you go.
So anyway, that's basically it. I think we made pretty good time.
Yeah, we did. An hour and 45. Vinkman says that one of his takeaways from this episode is that he will fan cast Michael Rosenbaum as Funny Face. Because of the way the
face-wise, yes. Acting-wise and personality-wise, no.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, no. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway. Now it's time for mail.
Yeah, so Kelly, you've got some snail mail to share.
I do.
I shared last episode because Vinkman was very kind and sent me some fun action figures that we talked about on our Marvel Legends special that was on here on the network. So check that out.
Yes. So I finally got my Christmas present from Vinkman to show off. And it is a handmade crocheted J2 to go with crocheted Spider-Girl. My mom was really obsessed with her boots, or his boots, but he's pretty awesome, really big. I was going to bring Spider-Girl to kind of show how huge he is, but I did not get enough time to go grab her before setting up.
Yeah.
But this was made by Danny, and Vinkman, I am going to ask you to plug it in the comments on her parents' podcast, since I did not have it on me when I was writing these notes. But seriously, he's great. I really appreciate it. So thank you, Danny, and thank you, Vinkman. And this is very huge, very cool, very one of a kind, but he's awesome. I really enjoy him, and I'm glad my nephew did not find him, because Lord knows what would have happened, because he would have definitely been played with. But thank you. So that is my snail mail. Did you get anything Spider-Girl related?
I did not. Nothing other than what I've already shown and told. So there wasn't much. I didn't get much over the break. So, but yeah, no. The only other thing I think that we have is to talk about the review stuff, the online review stuff.
Yes. So, I guess the only thing I have is like I did want to mention, me and some friends were testing something out that opened up on December 16th. And so basically we did a small little spree, but you can now rate us on Spotify. So it's a slow rollout, and I cannot remember if you mentioned it last episode or not, but I think this didn't roll out.
No, it's something like Spotify is expanding some of their features on the podcast side as they've been heavily investing in it. And so I think they're adding video podcasts as well as this rating system. So
eventually you can see us on Spotify.
Yeah.
I think the bigger, like the people with the bigger following, the ones that kind of integrated into it, they are already posted, and it's just an embedded YouTube. So eventually that should probably come about. But so basically you can rate us. So they don't necessarily have they don't have a place for you to like put in reviews on Spotify yet, where you can type things in
like they do with Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, you can give us a rating, and that Spotify has said that that's going to help suggest the show to others who click on the search bar. So they might click on what we've been labeled as, or they might search for Spider-Girl, might search for Mayday, etc. It'll pop up in the podcast area, which I think we do anyway, because it's us. And that one time, mysteriously, Mayday Mondays was up on Spotify.
Yeah.
Which one of those episodes needs to mysteriously come back.
Anyway, yes, we'll talk about that at a different day. But
Anyway, but I know that happened. So like literally, I think it doesn't necessarily help, but it does help us if people want to search for us. So
yes,
you can leave us up to 5 stars.
Yeah, leave us a 5-star review on Spotify, and not only just do that also for all our other shows. We have all the shows on the network on Spotify too, but do this one first, and it will help with their algorithms. And like I say, as they start rolling more features out, we'll start trying to adapt to those features as they get going on Spotify. Like I say, they are starting to really heavily invest in the podcast world, and so as a result, I think they're trying to play not necessarily catch up, but try to take the lead and be very, very hyper competitive with guys like Apple and stuff like that.
I think they kind of already, like, in terms of listening, they already are.
Yes.
They're already, like, blowing everything out of the water. I'm literally just pulling us up to see if you can see the 5 stars, because that was the one thing is that you can only do the 5 stars on a tablet or phone, because it has to be through the app. It can't be through the web player. I don't think it can be through the downloadable computer app either. So,
yeah, it's the same way. So that one, I'm sure that those two, like the web player and the downloadable app, are going to be one of those things where they'll do those last, because their mainly focus is like on the mobile side, and then they'll adapt it later, type thing, because obviously mobile share in terms of internet share is much higher than desktop share anymore. So,
but we are currently sitting at 5 stars. It just doesn't tell me how many people said so.
So yeah, we'll I'll look into I'll dive more into those things for our next episode. Currently though, we do not have any voicemails or emails. Our voicemail line is 818-925-6631. If you want to leave us a voicemail, Kelly, what's in our next episode, and then we'll wrap this episode up.
Okay, so we don't have any more online reviews.
No, I looked at Apple, and there wasn't any on Apple. And I didn't see any on Google either. So
okay, alrighty. So so next episode is Last Hero Standing. We're gonna go through the full event mini. So it is gonna be a longer episode. But I know that we have it scheduled on the calendar for the 27th of January for recording. But if anything changes, we'll let you guys know. I didn't really write anything about it because it's a big thing, and I think you ultimately want to tune in and read along with us and discuss it with us. So definitely, hopefully, check back with us on January 27th. Does that sound like a good date?
Yes, that sounds like the right date. So.
All right.
So with that, we will wrap up the episode there. Want to thank everybody for watching and listening. If you want to follow us on our social medias, you can follow us at Twitter at Spidey Radio and at Make My Mayday. Facebook.com/Spidey Network. Also Instagram.com/Spidey Network. You can also follow Kelly on Instagram at KMcDaniel28. TikTok at Make My Mayday and at Spidey Network. So, and of course, you can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/Spidey Dude Radio Network. Thanks again for watching. Thanks again for listening. And on behalf of myself and Kelly, we hope you enjoyed this episode. And we'll see you next time here on Make My Mayday, where we cover Last Hero Standing.